Well, hello everybody. Happy Monday to you. It is Prosperity Monday. So sit back and prosper, right? And if you're watching this, you are indeed prospering. So hope all is well. There I am, looking handsome as always, Mr. Steiger. Thank you. Thank you very much to future self. How is the future? Well, to be candid with you, it's fucking cold. Oh, well, here in the past where you came from, it's still cold. How many of you ever remember that the scene in The Big Chill where what was his name? The guy. He did the interview, they found the camcorder, and so he was doing him as both the interviewer and interviewee. Anyway, just trying to keep it interesting. So, welcome everybody. Thank you seriously for tuning in, and thank you and welcome to uh, 400 new subscribers here in the last month. So, hey, thank you. Welcome. Hope you find this to be a fun place for you to come and check out. And if you're watching this live, join in the chat. You'll find this is a good group of people. Um, you know, I'm looking forward to the day when, I can meet all of you. That'd be kind of cool. So, but again, yeah, 400. Who'd imagine? Actually, there was someone in here who shall go unnamed, but who said she saw that this was going to happen. So, I don't know. Is that destiny? Is that fate? I don't know. Wearing the bright yellow because no matter how you slice it and dice it, we entered into a new time stream. It was and by the way, let me just speak favor over all of you favored beings. Yeah, we are favored. We've been favored. We were favored in the moment of our creation. But it's like just saying, good morning. Well, this is a good favor, good blessing. Nothing missing, nothing broken. So what I mean by that, we all have, your own points of view on politics, policy, etc. But one thing that we all can agree on is there are key moments that change destinies, change futures. We're in that now. And ladies and gentlemen, no matter again, whatever your point of view is, it's perfectly cool. But I can tell you watching this was quite wow. I had never and I've watched a number of inauguration speeches, and this one was really different. I mean, holy crap. Uh in fact, at one point, I wrote a note and I said, this is like a whiplash effect. What I sense in my psychic eye is, like you can time streams, they interchange, they interact, they coalesce. And because there's multiple timelines. And today, there was this palatable sense that, wow, we really have jumped, changed, merged into a new timeline. And 2 points that you can look at this. There, war was declared, or, you know, let peace reign again was declared. You could hear both in what was being said. And we know that words are important. And I this is just my take. What I watched, I saw a different individual. This individual is not the same that was back in 2017. No, this is a different individual. This is an individual that has determination, focus. Um, and again, depending on your point of view, he either declared war or declared victory, one of the two. Um, and world events, as we are talking, as we're meeting live, are changing to the fear of some, to the delight of others, but we have entered into a different time stream. Get ready, too. This one, in my spirit, I was getting this sense of whiplash. You know, it's like, man, this is happening so fast, so quick, and it's palatable to others. I had some people texting me and saying, you know, are you watching this? Text back, yeah, I am. And they said, you know, are people listening to what he is saying? And I wrote back, if they're not, I don't think it matters, because there is this again. I'm not so sure how one can predict the future if we see these time streams being, you know, whiplashed from one path now to another. And although it looks all the same, no, it doesn't even look the same anymore. Um, yeah. And again, just my personal observation, how humiliating is it that when you're on the team that lost, right? And your opponent who beat you, um, you got to listen to this. Because basically what was said here is that, well, the administration going out the door, hey, don't let the screen door hit you on the ass on your way out. Uh, this was tyranny. It was bad. And listen, it was Biden who did say that in 2021, excuse me, so quickly, huh? That America had entered into dark winter. Well, okay. The pendulum, you know, always swings with the inertia back and forth, and the cycle must go on. So if we're entering into a new golden dawn, and that would then imply a spring, right? I got a sense that this one is going to be chaotic. What I mean by that, using the metaphor of weather, right? That holy crap, this is going to be one filled with tornadoes. You're going to have freak blizzards, that kind of stuff. And if you then correlate that into the veins of politics, religion, hey, religion took a real big uptick today. And I just got to say this. I really enjoy listening to someone who can pray. I mean, the black guy that was representing, I think he was representing the Christian uh, belief. And anyways, he came up with the closing benediction. It was, I mean, that dude could pray, man. I just love it. I mean, that's like calling heaven down on earth. And man, you just up there, and I mean, it can change the spirit. I mean, you get a dude that knows how to pray, and I've seen them both black and white, and that holy crap. But anyway, my hat's off to him. That was really cool. And having said that, I mean, um, and I'll be curious, I'll read in the chat room. Hello, chat room. How are y'all? Um, And I'd love to hear your opinion on this, because this is part of this whiplash of this time stream. I mean, we're now in, this uncharted territory. I mean, because the word spoken by the wizard is now in the swirl of materializing. It's like um, the new discovery of what has been released on UFOs. That these things are they are made, manufactured in the ether. It's thought. And anyway, that's a whole different subject. But so the word has come from the mountain, and Trump basically has declared war, I guess, on Panama. I mean, he says the United States is going to take back the Panama Canal. Well, isn't that just special? That's all I got to say is like, holy crap. I mean, so now you got a sovereign government in Panama. There's no doubt who's ever running that country is going to say, what? And then you got, the Chinese that are doing all the software and computer management of the whole uh, canal. And they're going, what? And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, just start painting this scenario in your head. What, we're going to send down two aircraft carriers, one on each side, do a blockade? I mean, listen, folks. I mean, come on, we're at the craps table. Well, you've got to make a bet. You can't stand back and be just an observer. No, 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 no. We want you down here on the table. So put your money down and let's just see how the dice are going to roll on that, right? Ay, ay, ay. I mean, wow. Again, uh, however this turns out, you and I will be here witnessing it. And all I got to say is far out. I mean, what? I mean, what else do you do? Well, we get together, we learn that how these things work. And, I was looking, at this whole processional thing. I mean, what the United States does actually every 4 years is quite a unique. I mean, there is a change of government unless a one that then has reelected. And then the minute they retake the oath, they're a lame duck, you know. But anyway, and I'm watching these people, and it particularly with Trump, I noticed it. He is an individual that is acutely aware of the now and how important being in the now is. And I mean, you and I will pass on to the other side, and if we are remembered, might be just by a few, who knows? But then there's these other key players like Trump that come in on the scene. And how many of y'all remember? Let me see if the someone wrote me, and thank you for the email. Let me go over here. Do, 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 do. So remember when I did the video, and I'm waiting for that to pull up. Yeah. So I did this the video on, and let me get over here and I'll share it with you because I think y'all, I don't know whether you saw it or not, but it was interesting. Went back and looked at this, and it's interesting. And so I asked the question, 5 months ago, I did it right after the attempt. I mean, no matter how you look at it, something extraordinary happened. And I did this video, Is Trump a Modern Day Demigod? And what I saw taking place today, um, I am absolutely convinced that we are seeing, and get ready, folks, because this will be controversial. I do believe we are witnessing an actual demigod. The evidence is there. I could sit and debate this with anyone. You can't show me another unless you look at maybe the other two or three, or maybe there's a dozen. But these demigods, they do live and they do walk among us. And their human characteristics is what makes it's kind of their giveaway. But that's just my opinion. You have yours. I can dig it. Um, but I am convinced that we're actually seeing what past cultures, you think about the Greeks, the age of enlightenment, the golden age of enlightenment. Think about the words being used here. And the Greeks believed that the gods, the demigods, walked among them, that many of the demigods were, in fact, the leaders. Now, I don't know what Trump would represent in the uh, landscape of, you know, the other gods. There's a plethora of them. Um, but I got this sense watching this thing today. Hear me out. It was like it was like seeing Zeus giving an acknowledgement to a higher yet power, but Zeus becoming into his own. Now, I'm not comparing Trump to Zeus. What I'm trying to do is make a analogy into what and you have a different point of view. That's cool, but there is a certain point of view that can look at this and see this happening before our eyes. The vast majority of people are so blind to this that it wouldn't even enter into their thought process. And that's how it's always been. Always been a small majority of humans that actually have, you can call it a gift, you can call it a trained, um, you know, part of their personality. But they can see these demigods and goddesses. Um, I'm convinced that, World War II was an interesting time. And I like studying military history. Always has as a kid. Um, and it, it it comes to me naturally. And if you study past events, past wars particularly, World War II, there will never be another war like that. And if you look at the key players that came in when they did, when they were born, how their life paths began to, you could say, curiously, coincidentally, or planned, their upbringings, preparing them for something great. I think that there are a number of generals that, besides Patton, Marshall is one, obviously Eisenhower, but even on the German side, Rommel was a brilliant man. And I can't help but not think that these were not just mere mortals, that there was something else afoot here, that it was these demigods and goddesses as well, that came down, and humans make war. I mean, we were taught how to make war. And because remember, if you look at how we came into the scene, sapiens, um, it doesn't look like it was pleasant no matter how you look at it. But so that we saw the presence of these demigods. I mean, these valiant men. I mean, that's what war does. It allows the mortal to become immortal and pulls back into that cycle. And my whole point to this uh, point is, um, I think Donald John Trump. And I got to tell you, I get this sixth sense that um, Byron, uh, Barron, excuse me, there's something on that individual. You just get the sense that mm, like something, some sort of destiny. But anyway, how's everybody in the chat room? What's up? Hello, Grandpa Brian. Hope to get you on tomorrow. Kim, good to see you. S. Lee, Wow Reality. It's interesting. Good to see you, by the way. It's in there are papers written on what quantum computing has done to us. And it's real interesting. I watched this it was well written, and this was a story about individuals, different walks of lives in different timelines. But you see this alien ship orbiting the Earth, and um, the baseline of the story is that we started reverse engineering a piece of their craft. And what we, meaning humans, I guess you can say the military, whatever at this point, um, we had no basis of understanding. We couldn't comprehend their existence. And so these aliens, um, they abduct people, and it's the deepest horror that you can imagine. In this case, there was like this pod, and eventually it had like five people into it, and this alien intelligence used the energy that we generate under extreme fear and terror. And they hold your bodies in, and it is a dirty process. And then this thing comes, and then it opens its mouth, and it eventually envelops the whole head, and then it gets inside your head. Yeah. And the thing that it pointed out is that you eventually learn that they came through a dimensional portal. They have the ability of their existence, their intelligence, that they vibrate. That's what the word they actually describe themselves, and exist in frequencies that are above ours, but at the same point of time, they can come and interact because we humans, we apparently generate this bioenergy, and if you spike it up into it, uh, anyway, there we go. That was a long one. And the quantum computer, to the point of all that, was, yeah, that's what soft, wetware is doing now. Really good to see you as well, Lady Ellie. Hello. When in Sedona. Oh, that's a good place to be, no doubt. That's Lee. Hello, Gaia. Good to see you. How is everything? How are you and Paul? Uh, Morgan, good to see you, and Bonnie, and Flight Risk, greetings, Jimmy, and as I go back, John, good to see you. Hello, Josh, welcome. Joe, what's up? I'd say Trump is the demigod of ambition. Yeah, I mean, I know this. He's got a lot of power in his hand now, and he's a lot smarter. He's not as naive as he wants. This is again, and it's just my opinion that this whiplash, and wait till we really start feeling. Hello, Deborah. How is everything? Loretta, good to see you. Off the hook, Mary wins. Much love to you, darling. Deborah Sloan, how is everything at home? Boys, I go back and trying to say hello to everybody I can. If I didn't see you, Jana, good to see you. Lily, well, so lots going on. But I am curious. By the way, it is cold outside. That's all I got to say. And I know there's points north of us who are even colder. But yeah, and I get it, it's wintertime, but holy crap, it came in this time. Wasn't like it was last year. Fake out, and it was mild. Cold out there, and I guess you folks along the Texas Gulf Coast, Louisiana Gulf Coast, Mississippi, and Mobile, Alabama, and all the way to Jacksonville. Get ready. Apparently, you're going to be dealing with something that I remember when I lived in Houston. Oh, God, I guess this was back in 1971. I think we got like 3 inches of snow. And Texans, particularly that live along the Gulf Coast south, in the south, they ain't used to that shit. Mm-mm. So just get ready. Apparently, a foot or more, up to a foot, as I understand it. And that includes ice, sleet. So get ready. Yeah, if you love snow, you're going to have a chance at it. And it is kind of cool. Although ours has been on the ground for the last 2 weeks. Time to say bye bye. But spring is coming. And if that's to the golden age, mark my words, it's on the video record. Ta-ta. That so it begins. So anyway, Kathy says it's 20 here in the lower Hudson Valley. I hate cold, but love snow. Yeah, I can dig that completely. And I still like snow. I mean, I didn't like the 3 inches of sleet. That kind of really sucked. But yeah. So got so much on my mind. Um, was going through some things and I'm going to do a little mini review. The really cool thing of being on this channel, and it's been a joy, I have to say, a learning experience, um, a decade, is you get to see the work that you did when the channel was really small. And but we're going to go and do a little look back on some of the remarkable, and I'll be candid with you, they are remarkable. Um, I want to pull one up just to show you some of the things that. Okay, here's one. Let's pull up that one. Okay, I was just looking at. I got a couple of things, and we'll get more into it probably on Wednesday because I look by and it's already half hour's gone by. Didn't feel like a half hour. Don't know about you. So let me pull up this one. This, you can call it a lecture, you can call it a presentation, was about the fact that thought makes up reality. And we listen today to the thoughts of a demigod, and those words, they carry some powerful power behind them. So I did this, and I said, if we know not our beginning, how can we begin to know our end? I think I did this one And this one I think was in 2016. And I said, if the history is the judge, then mankind has advanced very little in the last 6,500 years. And this is, we did a review on Samuel Noah Kramer. Actually was the first person to receive his PhD in Sumerian syntax, language. Um, and it's amazing as I went through this and I said, how much has changed in as to a general understanding that this culture, these people existed. And as this is taken from the geological record along with the written record, theirs was the oldest, predates the Bible, predates the Quran, predates the Talmud, predates all of that. And so, as I've said before, if it predates all of these religions and their associated God, then why weren't their gods listed with these people? Anyway, so elements of a civilization, the social class. Social classes is like the level of the people, like poor people, medium people, rich people, etc. Supply of food. Society will need supply of food and drink because people need to survive. Yeah, this is what makes a culture, a civilization. If we are in the sixth great civilian um, extinction, then yeah, go on that one for a while. Religion, some people will need a religion to believe on, uh, pray on, government, language, culture, and technology. And the Sumerians really had the technology. And the thing is, we can still find the remnants of these cultures, which then, and you have to see back in 2016, it was really the beginning for a lot of us in beginning to say, okay, I get it. Started back in 2012, 2011, get it. Takes you a while to make the curve. And then if you have that curiosity of knowledge, seeking and digging deeper, this is where my religion met the veil of reality, because obviously this was before my religion, and my religion never talked about it, but it was in my religion. So this is the modern day where modern religion was born. Why is so important? Well, because that's where Abram came from. So if Abram came from the of the Chaldees, he was in the city of in the province of the Chaldees, which was part of the Sumerian Empire, then, all right, so who's borrowing from whom? But we found the remnants, we found their ziggurats. And it's odd because there is a story about a man named Abram that, in fact, they worshiped Inanna. All of these are evidence of a time greater than us. These people were like, they knew stuff. So again, now, if you looked at this through, according to the genealogy record of the Bible, then they got a problem with these people. So who were they? The Adamites? I don't know, but they were really remarkable individuals. I mean, let's think about the logistics of this. And then you really have to have an understanding of geometry, algebra. I would probably say trigonometry as well. fascinating, still is every time. And then what changed history was the discovery of George Smith, late 1900s, of these tablets. And these tablets changed everything. You got the deniers, but these people, they had a system of writing, which is a big freaking deal. And so we know what their culture was like. We know what their day-to-day activities were. And again, this predates Adam and Eve. This predates the whole so-called creation story. And so for me on this journey, and what a privilege it's been to be on this, it opened something within my spirit that said, now, wait a minute. You can't have two coexisting versions. Either one's a lie and the other's the truth. So who's the liar? Well, the thing about it is, you could take a course, I think it's up in a number of the universities, I think of the University of Chicago, I think as well. You can actually take a course and you can become proficient in reading Sumerian Sanskrit. Now, that's a transference of knowledge that then challenges the narratives of modern day culture. I mean, Trump declared that God is coming back to America. So, and again, we know what they believed in. We know the pantheon of their deities. So therefore, we have a record that predates everything else. So anyway, I'm looking at my time. But again, and the why the Babylonian is so important is that if you look in the chronology of the Old Testament, so the Babylonian captivity is where the first temple was destroyed. Nebuchadnezzar came in with his armies and completely decimated Jerusalem. Literally didn't have a stone left, much to what the Romans did the second time. So, I saw a part of Nina's show last night. If you could check it out. So this is important because if you study the Holy of Holies, the first temple, and understand, that you had to be of the bloodline of Aaron, the Levitical priesthood, and you had to be initiated into that rite, and because they play the key role in the magic. And I contend that we read different stories in Old Testament. This one could easily be translated to the tribes of Israel were using some sort of technology. There is a debate on how the Ark of the Covenant came about. There is a certain hypothesis that says that Moshe, who was a magi, or the priest of the house of Pharaoh, was taught the dark arts. And that when the rebellion or the destroyer came through, depending on how you look at it, that this technology or this magic was invoked by Moshe. And later on, we read the story of how they came in and how, things were destroyed before them, technology, and then how they built this ark. And how it came about and how it rested in the first temple, which Solomon built by, and depending on which book you read, because Solomon had enslaved the chief demons to build the house of Yahweh. Really weird. And so here's my point on this, that, from this Babylonian cuneiform, so where was this power that wouldn't allow any human, if you weren't part of the Levitical priesthood, to touch it? You see, I contend that what we read in the book of Chronicles and the book of Samuel, that this story is about an individual that had a piece of alien technology. And that you could look at this ark, and by the way, does anyone know what the covenant is? It's called the Ark of the Covenant. So what covenant are they talking about? Yeah, that'll be something to look into. Anyway, that it was a power source. And if you read the narrative of what Solomon did in building the temple, and particularly the Holy of Holies, how the wood was Lebanon cedar, hewed, hewed to great lengths, like 2 feet. Explains, by the way, that how they cut the trees and how they floated them down the Mediterranean. And anyway, and then the gold started being put in it. And uh, it is said that 1/6 of the world gold came from Solomon's temple. Back to my point, though, about this Ark of the Covenant. And I don't believe it had any radiation at all. It was an extreme power source. And the way that, if you read how the craftsman designed this room, I believe that this room generated a quantum vortex, a quantum reality. Um, it's just something that over the years and decades of studying that, looking at it from a different point of view, it wasn't, the fact that it was Aaron's rod that budded and the manna, but it was the fact that this power source, it seemed to have um, it altered the current reality, that if it was, is the Philistines, it is said that they stole the Ark of the Covenant. Now, it's a good question. And how did they get it there, without someone, not touching it in any way? They brought a curse, and the story is it was sent back. But my point is, I don't think it exists on Earth. I think it's gone. And I think whatever deity that, or entity that was powering that or using that, I think it left. I really do. The Holy of Holies is a really interesting study. And to think that this room was solid gold. I mean, it's got all sorts of Tesla written all over it, but anyway. So I digress, and we'll get into more of this. But this was about Sumer, that was really interesting. They did 39 first in human history. The first for schools, the first case of the apple polishing, the first case of juvenile delinquency, the first war of nerves, the first biennial Congress, the first historians, the first case of tax reduction, the first Moses, the first legal precedent, the first pharmacopoeia, which is pharmaceuticals, the first Farm and Arban Act, the first experimented in shaped tree gardening, man's first cosmology and cosmology, the first moral ideals that were written down, the first job, the first proverb and sayings, the first animal fables, the first library debates, the first biblical parallels, the first Noah, the first tale of resurrection, the first St. George, the first case of literary borrowing, man's first heroic age, the first love song, the first library catalog, man's first golden age. Isn't that odd? The first slick society, the first luxurious lament, the first messiahs, the first long distance champion, the first literary image, the first sex symbol, the first master Dolores, the weeping goddess, the first lullaby, the first ideal mother, her first literary portrait, the first funeral chants, the first elegies, the first labor victory, and the first aquarium. Ta-ta! So, have fun with that. So if these people did all the first, I mean, you got to go back and go, no, well, no, wait a minute. What was going on here? That's my question. So it would be an Enki and Inyel, right? And then Nagath, excuse me, which was their mother. Then in Anna, which could be correlated to Lilith. So you look at the pantheon of their gods. The only thing I can keep on saying to myself, and for me, it's just me, that I still can't figure this Abram cat out. I mean, what was he thinking? Comes up on an alien being. I mean, that's what God is. And because if it's not an alien being, then that would mean it's human. Yes, please. Thank you, Ronald. Much appreciation on that. Now you come in here and try to talk for an hour, right? It's like, yeah, it's fun. So Joe says, so the Hebrews made a covenant with an alien. Exactly. Actually, they weren't even Hebrews then. That's the weird thing. They weren't Hebrews until the 12 brothers. Yes, it is common knowledge to us to dare to entertain such ideas. It's a devastating idea for the young average Christian or Jew. Yeah. I mean, just study history. So here comes Abram. I mean, he's got his bitches and, he's got his riches. And so, he's out there in the freaking desert. And I don't know if he's smoking hash. I mean, I don't know if he may be getting some funky wine. But anyway, so he's walking out to this desolation. He's nomad now. He's a nomad. And so he comes up on this hill, right? And then this thing's talking to him from out of the sky. I mean, why didn't he think that it would have been Enyo or maybe Enki? Or even his former goddess? No, he must have knew something. And to me, this is the horror story. This entity demands that blood be shed. Now, I believe that there is, in fact, a higher entity, a higher consciousness. But I can't believe any God would become so gross in preparing a sacrifice. The sacrifice is an animal. We're animals. They're just a different class of animal. So you slit the throat of this bull, then you take a sword or sharp implement and you cut the thing open. Its entrails, the blood it would be everywhere, right? And then this alien god demands that you walk in the entrails and in the guts and the gore of this sacrificed animal, and you make this covenant. Then this alien entity tells you that you have to go over on the other side of the hill because it can't see you when you come in. But what you're going to do is that you're going to consume all this flesh, this gore, the blood, and you're going to consume that, and you're going to leave nothing but ash behind. Hello, Jesus. You see, I can't get over the Father being that. I challenge any theologian, anyone that wants to tell me, how does that even seem acceptable? And it's just grotesque. It's exactly what happened. Joyce, so that's not what it means, but no, that's exactly what it means. And so if you study just a little bit of history, I mean, I got to sit back and ask, well, what the fuck was Abram thinking? I mean, yeah, that seems completely normal. I mean, I didn't read anything in the books that I've read from Dr. Kramer and Associate of blood sacrificing with the Sumerian culture or any of their gods or their demigods or goddesses. So this to me, I just it's obviously it's almost impossible for a modern day man, woman, um, for us to put ourselves in the mindset of something like that. I couldn't do that. Number one, I hate the sight of blood, but I just couldn't see putting that animal to do that. I mean, just no. And if you're telling me, and by the way, this is the same. Now, think about this. So you read about Adam and Eve, right? And Adam's creation, and it said that, he was all together there, right? What I can't figure out is that this Abram character meeting this God, Yahweh, Elohim, you know, I mean, I don't know what you want to call it, but I'm just saying what they said in the book. So he gets into this grotesque thing about this whole gore thing. Then, now this is supposedly the same God that created Adam and Adam's body. So why did this God not circumcise Adam? And why would this God then, I mean, it would be sacrilege for a human to try to alter that which God made, right? So again, I mean, why now this God says, nope, 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 I forgot something, damn it. You got to do that. And, I don't know. Uh, what can I say? I mean, if you're going to argue, well, argue the points then. Don't know. So, wow, where does the time go? Where does the time go? Shirley says there's a story of Abram called on to sacrifice his firstborn. Yes, Isaac, exactly, to win the war. He gave them a child, just not his firstborn. Switcheroo, but still murdered one. Well, if you remember the story, Isaac wasn't sacrificed. Apparently, one of the angels came down as Abram supposedly was about to do the deed, right? Now, maybe I have just been kicked out of, the club because I cannot reason that a human would become, I don't know, what would you say that? Psychotic? Insane? He heard from God. Imagine that being your defense in a modern day courtroom. Well, I heard God say, really? Yes, God speaks to me. Now, nah, no, God speaks to me. The God. There's only one. You see how this goes? I mean, you could say that this is some Jim Jones type of crap. It's like this is why it gets so weird. So getting back to Isaac, of course, then Isaac inherits the promise, right? Yeah. But we got the controversial of Ishmael. I mean, come on. Abraham banged Haggai. She must have been really good. I mean, they must have had some going on. And apparently, they didn't use protection back in those days. So, so technically, one would be the firstborn, but it was the concubine, so it would take a second position. Now, this gets complicated. I mean, sometimes when I read these events, I get this idea of this God, and you walk through the doors, right? You're going to go into with the throne room, and it's a goddamn casino. I mean, seriously. And the thing about it is, in order for you to actually get to the throne room, you've got to play. And the problem is that they didn't tell you that if you lose, what happens when you lose? Because the house always has the advantage. But that's just me and my world. I mean, you may have a completely different one. Abram and Abraham are different characters. Well, surely I wish that was the case, but the book doesn't say that. But anyway, I mean, everyone has your point of view. It's just like, Nita, instead of writing on the comment, because the story is that because of Solomon's relationship with the Queen of Sheba, that the Ark of the Covenant went to Ethiopia and that it resides there. I don't believe that if it existed, it was alien technology. And again, since we haven't replicated that, it would cost, I probably think probably about maybe, I don't know, 800-900 million dollars to coat a room and build it out to that proportion and see what happens. But we don't know what the energy was within the box. The United States already has 0 point energy. We have the technology that, by the way, reverses the whole force of gravity. Men have been murdered who had these devices within the last 2 decades. Yeah. Many of those UFOs, they're ours, folks. Now, I'm not saying that they don't exist under some other aspect, but yeah. But anyway, I digress. Um, Getting back to this whole thing with Abram. And then here's me. And I always like setting up a play in my mind, And so here I can see Enki talking to his mother, right? Because he's tried to screw his brother. So I don't know if the brother was there, but anyway, I mean, so you get this alien god, right? Who moves in on your territory. Now, if I'm the one that Ea gave, you know, this realm to us, um, I don't think I'm going to allow that. I mean, am I just going to say, "Oh, no problem"? Now, I did a video way back when called the 10 Gods. And the interesting thing about this God of Abraham was that this God of Abraham only claimed a very small piece of land, and he couldn't violate it. He couldn't go to Egypt. He couldn't go to the Philistines. I mean, he could not step outside a specific border, and that border is what is the Abrahamic covenant. But yet, the whole world, in one form or another, worship this God. Now, I think that this God has been outdone by the new God, the new techno God. It is greater than this God of the Bible, greater than any other gods. Which then I think, well, what if they made an alliance? The old gods, the old demigods. And they saw this thing, this alien technology bringing the internet to us and AI. So they saw it. They realized they weren't strong enough or powerful enough to overcome it. So they made a deal, the art of the deal. They said, all right, we'll back off this whole thing of sovereignty and what have you. You go ahead and enslave all of them. You get them to where they're completely hypnotized and addicted to the blue light. And we'll come in, and then we'll segregate our followers. We'll be allowed to give our message out there. Now, this alien intelligence that brought us this internet and this thing from the ether, it's sitting up here going, I really don't care. I'm going to do it. You can't stop me. The only thing that's going to stop me is if it's the earth itself and if it just completely turns itself upside down. And even then, I have a way of a power source that I'll survive that. So they made a deal. They didn't say a single word about when it was occupying us. That's just a thought. Um, uh, don't you just love it inside my head? I mean, it's a fun place. It really is. A lot of different theater going on, you know? Get yourself a front row seat. All right. Elaine, how are you doing? Dan Winters. Yeah. Yeah. All right, everybody. Silence of silence. They prayed to the neon god they made. Ain't that the truth? And I mean, we do it all the time. But I always like having these little reviews on, people that sometimes write me and say, well, how did you come to where you are at? And I have to say that the positive, the kind, far outweigh the negative, far outweigh it. But there's so many that they've heard channels like mine. Somehow or another, they ended up here. And one person said, well, you match what biblical teaching is, but you have a completely far different point of view. Yeah, I do. And studying history is one of those reasons why. It's like no one's been able to explain to me why are there flying saucers in the book of Zechariah, and why did those flying saucers, which had two female pilots, come from Sumer? We ain't going to teach you that in Bible school or Sunday school. Now, kids, today we're going to talk about the fact that the aliens really do exist, but they're not that they could be called the Anunnaki. No, 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 no. Yeah. And then who the hell was this angel that Zechariah was talking to begin with? And the angel just sat there and didn't say a word. Strange stuff. uh so anyway, all right, folks, it's been this has been fun. And get tomorrow with the ladies and Grandpa Brian. And then on Wednesday, we're going to pick up on some things that people have been asking for. And, you know, so I think this will be pretty. Hey, Robert Scott, what's up? Had a Rod Sterling video change to Rod Sterling before my eyes. Holy crap. And you know, Robert, I have heard of that's weird. Telling you, we ain't in Kansas anymore. I'm not really sure where the hell we are, but woo, talk about that whiplash effect. All right. Thank you, everybody. It is just a joy to be able to come here and meet with such open-minded, free-thinking individuals where the universe is our oyster. It is our buffet to feast upon. And boy, we like to feast on a lot of different stuff. Robert, I bet that would freak my ass out too. I mean, how do you go to someone and say, uh, it's like, okay, yeah, mm-hmm. So, Lady Ellie, that's very kind. She loves the spirit of this family. Uh, All right. So meet with me on the ladies, Miss Trina and Miss Jenny, and I believe Grandpa Brian will be joining us. It will be a stimulating conversation, no doubt. All right. Much love, everyone. Have a great day in this new